Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising to your December 2025 astrology horoscope. I recommend listening to these videos first for your rising sign, as your rising sign is what sets up the entire house system and determines where things are going to manifest for your life in reality, in your physical existence. And then I would listen to your sun sign, as that'll give more of an indication of where you might be feeling things more in your career. And then I would listen for your moon sign, as that'll give an indication of where you're feeling things more on an emotional level and where you might be feeling the energy like more on the home front. But I always recommend listening to your rising sign first, again, because your rising sign is what sets up your house system of your natal chart and will have a clear indication of what area of life things are manifesting for you in your actual life. I also highly recommend listening to the December collective monthly forecast. I go over just the energy in general, but then what I really want you to go and listen to is in the second half of the video, I talk about the Sabian symbols for 3 particular planets as they are not moving more than 1 degree all month long. So I always find it fascinating to see what the Sabian symbols of those degrees mean, and it does give great explanation of what we are all feeling collectively in the world right now, especially the Pluto and Aquarius degree marker, but all of them really. So I do highly recommend listening to at least that part of the collective reading because it's very, very fascinating. Now a little bit about me. I'm Sarah at Life with Training Wheels, where I utilize Western Tropical Zodiac Astrology, whole sign house system, and other tools to help guide you on your journey of self-discovery and self-empowerment. My goal is to help you realize that life really is a choose your own adventure. You have more control over your life and your thoughts than you think you do, and we really do make this world our reality. One of my favorite quotes is, "Wherever you go, there you are." So if you keep finding yourself in certain situations, good or bad, it may be a time to look into the mirror. If that sounds like something you want to stick around for, a vibe that you can vibe with, then I encourage you to stick around. If this is your first time finding me, thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll stay. If you are returning, thank you so much for returning. Either way, if you could go ahead and engage with this video in some way, like, subscribe, comment, anything like that, it will help my tiny channel grow, and I greatly appreciate it. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we dive into the astrology this month. I do currently have a Your First Astrology course going on right now. It is a 6-week course. I have released the first week video. I am working on editing the second week's video. But basically, I take you from zero, from not knowing how to pull up a birth chart, and walking you through that, and walking you through a couple astrology tools that I use that are free to use, and then explain the setup of a birth chart, the chart layout, the house system. We'll get into the signs and the planets and understanding your big 3, your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign. And then finally learning how to take horoscopes like the ones I give here and like many other astrologers give, and how to take your natal chart and really see more layers of how the energy is interacting with your chart on a more personal level. So that course is going on now. It is delivered via email, and you can ask any questions after each week is delivered, each video is delivered, and I really want to make this course yours. So I would love to have you join me. The information for that is in the description box below. I also am starting up a Patreon membership that would be basically a getting to know yourself monthly membership, where I will teach an astrology topic, teach something about the natal chart and how to read it every month. So not only will it be a learning astrology, but then learning about yourself, because I will teach on a topic and then give a 20-minute personal astrology reading for each person in the course or in the Patreon membership each month, according to whatever topic we are discussing that month. So it's like a monthly learning astrology and learning yourself better through astrology membership. If you're interested in joining, the link will be in the description box below for that as well. And although this was a Black Friday deal, I am going to extend it through the month of December, where I will give $25 off of any service I offer on my website if you sign up for my newsletter. I have not really started sending out my new newsletters yet, but I do plan on sending out like weekly astrology, weekly horoscopes, as well as anything else going on any of my YouTube channels, or anything else that I feel might be of value or interest to you. It would only be going out weekly at max, perhaps monthly to start. But if you would like to sign up for that, please do so in the description box below. I would love to have you join my newsletter. Now let's go ahead and get into it. Aries, I have your chart up on the screen. Like I said, I do recommend listening to the collective horoscope first, but we're still going to just dive right into the overall astrology, just not the Sabian symbols. So, first things first, for the first half of the month, we have the Grand Water Trine that is continuing from what we had all month long last month. So that involves your 12th house, your 8th house, your 4th house, with the Water Grand Trine making the connection between those. The only difference is that last month, what was keeping this Water Grand Trine active the entire month was the parade of planets moving through Scorpio, the parade of personal planets. Most of those have moved into Sagittarius now, but Mercury remains. So Mercury is what is going to be keeping this Water Grand Trine active for the first half of the month. I believe it will enter into Sagittarius around December 13th, but up until then, we still will be working with this Water Grand Trine energy. And so just as a reminder of what these houses represent for you, this Water Grand Trine is activating your very internal, very emotional, very subconscious. It's the internal houses that it's activating, not the friendship houses, not the money houses. It's our internal world that this is activating, because the 4th house represents our emotional home, both like our physical home and how we feel safe from the external world within our castle, so to speak, but it's also our inner castle and our inner emotional world and how we feel safe there. The 4th house also represents all the subconscious pattern, the patterning that we received and learned about life from childhood growing up. It represents our childhood home. So a lot of, our beliefs about how the world works and everything, we developed in our 4th house. And then as we grew, those belief systems turned into subconscious patterning, which now resides in our 12th house. So our 12th house is our subconscious mind. Though now that we're adults, those patterns, those stories that we learned from when we were growing up, the ways that we protect ourselves, basically all the subconscious programming that we received as a kid lives in this 12th house. And then the 8th house is the house of transformation. It is the house of shadow work and the house of where we store our secrets, where we store our fears, our guilt, our shame, things like that, that we don't like to look at ourselves very often. And that when we aren't, willing to look at ourselves that way, it also then can impact our intimacy, because this is also the level of intimacy that we are willing to have with other people, how we share our resources. So, this is very internal home world. This is internal subconscious. We aren't even aware of a lot of the stuff that's going on in this house. This house is also like spirituality and represents the hidden realms. And then 8th house is our conscious mind, but where we store those parts of ourselves that we want to kind of keep hidden. So that is what is working, what this Grand Trine, Water Grand Trine is working with you. And with Mercury being in Scorpio, that's kind of where the energy is focusing, I guess, a little bit, so to speak, for this, because that's the energy that's moving the most. And so Mercury in Scorpio, Mercury is the mind, our communication, our thought processes. And in Scorpio, in the 8th house, it really wants to dig for that transformation. It's there supporting you to really dive into those shadows and address your fears, address the places where you feel guilt and shame. Shine light and compassion and love. Like the 12th house also connects us to that universal love, that one love, that greater compassion. The 12th house is bringing compassion to this area. The 4th house, Jupiter, is bringing opportunities for you to do the healing work. And then, Saturn and Neptune are working on the boundaries that we have in regards to the 12th house can also be where we have a lot of empathy and things like that. And so we can sometimes blur boundaries between knowing what's ours and knowing what's other people's energy. So these energies are kind of working with you on, number one, bringing things that are in your subconscious to your conscious mind, so you can work with them and deprogram anything that's holding you back. And in that, this energy, especially with Neptune and Saturn combined, is very much an energy of tearing things down, but also building things up. So it's tearing down like unnecessary and unhealthy walls and victim mentality that we may have been programmed with and stuff like that, and is working with us to build new healthy boundaries and structures. So you're being very, very supported, especially the first half of the month, to continue this deep dive of these internal transformations, this internal shadow work. So although it may be a little bit painful, the energy is there supporting you, giving you lots of insight and wisdom. Jupiter brings wisdom and compassion and things like that. So keep doing the good work. The other thing that this energy brings too with these water houses, especially in the positions that they're in for you and the other fire signs, is potentially bringing online more intuition, more clear intuition, more psychic abilities, things like that. And if it is bringing those things on, and if it is overwhelming, it is very important that you at the same time learn not only boundaries with the people in your physical world, right? But learn these boundaries with the spiritual world as well. The Bible talks about putting on the armor of God, and the same concepts apply in, spiritual tradition talk and things like that, about putting a bubble of protection around you so that you can maintain your own energy and don't take on other people's energies or energies, just that you maintain your protective field and maintain your own energetic field. So if that's something that you would like to learn more about, certainly comment below and I can help with that. Continuing on with the not necessarily the Grand Water Trine, but the planets that are involved in the Grand Water Trine. Jupiter has an important role this month as well, providing us lots of opportunities for healing. So the first thing is, pretty much all month long, Jupiter is going to be in a pretty tight trine to Saturn in Pisces. So earlier this year, Jupiter and Saturn were in a square. So they, Jupiter really wanted to expand in some area, and in this area in your 4th house, and Saturn really wanted you to slow down and stop and do work here in your subconscious and your spiritual world and meditate and things like that. But Jupiter wanted to go. So there was this balance. Saturn wanted to make sure that what you were expanding on in the 4th house was, spiritually aligned and for your highest and best good, and that you weren't carrying these, unhealthy patterns into what you were wanting to expand and things like that. And now they are in this beautiful trine. They are supporting each other. The energy does still want to move a little bit slow, though. Number one, because Saturn is slow anyway. Saturn wants us to make sure that we're building the foundation, on solid footing. And Jupiter is retrograde. So Jupiter is still moving slow. Jupiter is still in this very internal building before it builds externally. So we're still kind of, even though Saturn is direct, we're still kind of in this more internal space of figuring things out, perhaps looking at opportunities that we may have missed or messed up or something like that, learning what foundations we need to build in our home. But there should be, Jupiter, especially once it turns direct, but even retrograde, Jupiter really does want to expand, and it brings blessings and luck and opportunities to whatever it touches and does expand things. So we really are in this building phase of learning how to build up these healthy boundaries, learning especially those boundaries within our home, within our emotional bodies, as well as spiritual bodies. So you'll be getting lots of opportunities to do that. The other thing that Jupiter is doing all month long and continuing, it was doing this last month as well, to have a square to Chiron and Aries. And the more I look at this energy, the more I see how beautiful this square is, because even though it's a square, and squares are usually tensious energy, energy that is tense, and requires a change or requires a compromise or something like that, or is just felt like we're being triggered by something, right? It's uncomfortable. Jupiter is one of the most benefic planets. So even when it's in a square, it's generally providing opportunities and lucky situations and things like that. So when you are feeling triggered in this I am Chiron wound, right? The Chiron wound is the wound of staying small for the sake of others, maybe. And with this being in your 1st house, maybe you really have felt for some reason that you needed to put others first, like all across the board, not necessarily in one area of your life, but in all areas of your life. Maybe you've struggled to really be seen and be heard and have a lot of wounding regarding that. Well, Jupiter in your 4th house of home and family is going to be presenting some challenges, but also continual opportunities for healing. And what I think is beautiful about that is that we're closing out all this energy right in this 12th house. Like, you've done this deep dive on your subconscious patterning, done a lot of work there. You're working on your boundaries, tearing down walls and structures that don't need to be there. And you really are about to reinvent yourself on a whole new level. But you're doing not only the learning and growing here, but ahead of this energy moving into Aries and really starting off the brand new you're being given an opportunity all December long to work on this wound, so that when these planets do move here, you're starting off on a more healed version and more sure version of yourself. So that is really beautiful energy for me to see. And like I said, since it's coming from your 4th house, some of this healing opportunity will be coming from perhaps your ancestry, perhaps you're doing a lot of ancestral work, healing from your childhood, or just building sanctuaries in your own current home and taking what you didn't like from growing up and changing it, or taking what you did like from growing up and building on that and things like that, and building your own personal sanctuary emotionally and physically in your own home space. So that is really beautiful. So the other energy that I want to talk about that's connected to this grand water trine has to do with this Neptune, and talking about this mini grand trine. First of all, Neptune will be stationing direct this month, December 10th, which will be good. Once it turns direct, we should be getting a little bit more clarity, right? Neptune can be the planet of like fog and confusion, and it's also the planet of our dreams and dreaming like the ideal situation into reality and things like that. And once it turns direct, we should be getting more clear direction on what actually can be a reality and what might be a daydream, like out of reach, not able to actually manifest and bring into reality. But what I want to talk about is the first half of the month before that turns direct and starts creating more distance. This sextile between Neptune and Uranus is pretty much exact. It was exact to the degree and day on November 20th. So if you watch, I did a 3-part short series on that, which I'll link right there, kind of the history of what that means and everything. But while this energy is still potent, I really want to talk about it. This exact sextile has only happened between these two planets in these two signs 18 times from the period of 250 or 500 BC to 2500 AD. So it's a rare occurrence that these two planets come together in this fashion in these signs. And then when we look to see when they come together for an exact sextile, when they're both retrograde, that's only happened 2 times before in that time span. One was in 598 AD and the other one was in 1853 AD. So it's like a once in a century sextile that we are living through right now. And so I really want to focus on this energy and make use of it, not only explain what it means collectively, but also how to make use of it on a personal level, because I think we're really being asked to look at that. And then when I look at this which we'll get to in just a second. When I look at this mini grand trine, which I've been calling a divine mini grand trine because it involves the outer planets, the more collective, like when these planets are involved in changing signs and stuff, it's a collective movement, it's a worldwide movement, worldwide shifts. And in a trine, I believe that we are really being supported by the divine, right? Trine is supportive energy. It's there to help make things easier for us, and it's working in our favor and things like that. And when I looked, I can't remember when this mini grand trine started showing up, but it will be continuing all the way through 2029. I didn't move beyond 2029 to see what it was doing because it was starting to separate, but it is active all the way through 2029. There's only a couple months period in 2027, 2028, and the end of 2029 where one of these legs falls out of the orb of influence, so it wouldn't show up on this chart as being in a sextile. Just a couple months out at the fall of those 3 years. But other than that, it is this energy that remains humming in the background. So it's a really powerful energy, and it's just amazing. But I wanted to really focus on this energy, and while it's exact, since it is such a rare conjunction, and I want us to be able to make the most of it in our own personal lives. But on a collective level, what this means when these two planets come together is it has signified when collective consciousness is rewriting itself on a whole new level, when the world is pivoting towards a new mythological or technological direction, which we are definitely seeing, when spiritual revolutions arise, which we're seeing, when financial systems reshape, which we're seeing, and when technological leaps occur, which we're seeing. But when they are retrograde to retrograde, those periods before, and you can get more information watching my November 20th 3-part series, it marks more of an internal rewiring of the collective, not necessarily an outward expression. So we're seeding this collective rewiring, collective revolution internally right now. So it's kind of like this energy is the behind the scenes cosmic recalibration moment. And, I want us to consciously work with this. So when these planets turn direct, and when we individually and collectively start putting this energy in a more outward fashion, we kind of know what we're working with and know what we want to do with it. So for you guys in particular, this is happening in your 12th house and your 2nd house, this sextile, right? So this is your values, money, and self-worth being recalibrated through a deep spiritual awakening. So the manifestation of this might be sudden realizations about money and purpose, dissolving old fears of survival, spiritual gifts awakening, perhaps especially claircognizance, and letting go of unconscious self-sabotage. So that is really beautiful. So the best way to actively work with it would be to create a new financial system for yourself that's aligned with your soul. Practice surrender and trusting in the divine timing of things, and to retreat, meditate, journal, and purge old fears. Do that shadow work. Do that internal work and clear out anything that's holding you back, especially on this financial and value-driven, resource-driven level. So then the other thing that we have going on all month long is, the energy is kind of moving away from this grand water trine, and we're getting last month there were no planets in fire signs or anything like that. So we felt with this grand water trine, we felt a lot of energy moving and flowing, but it kind of had nowhere to go, right? And now that we have all these planets in the fire sign, as well as Saturn, Neptune, and Mercury being direct, we are getting some forward momentum. We're finally on all this energy that we felt going on, and we may have felt stagnant with the energy, like nothing was moving. Now we should be feeling some things finally moving forward, which is really great. But with all this energy in Sagittarius, as we're getting first of all, your ninth house will be lit up, right, with this energy, and that's where a lot of your focus will be. That's where your personal planets will be. So you'll be feeling this energy in your higher belief systems, which makes sense with all this internal work. It's also the house of higher education, of teaching or finding a teacher, long distance travel, things like that. So that could be stuff that's coming up for you this month. But we also, all these planets all month long are going to be making a square to this Neptune and Saturn. So this Neptune and Saturn's really getting lit up, right? From all month long, from all different sides of the equation. So at first it's going to be Mars, and Mars brings our willpower and drive and motivation to deal with these things. So you're going to be bringing this ninth house energy of higher belief systems, education, things like that, to this 12th house of uncovering our unconscious, hidden subconscious programming, as well as, both of these houses are very spiritually related, our belief systems and our spiritual world, right? So be given the motivation to kind of deal with it. And then the sun will come along and kind of highlight whatever we didn't see, whatever we missed when we were really, driving forward with starting to build walls, or not build walls, but build boundaries. We want to tear down the walls, but build healthy boundaries. The sun will come to highlight, what we may have missed. And then Venus will come and maybe bring either financial opportunities or bring the right people to help us dive deeper into it, or just bring us, compassion and healing and love to this work that we're doing. And then Mercury later in the month will come to make this square, and Mercury is our mind and our communication, so we might be able to communicate more about what we've been going through internally, and we might be able to see. Mercury also, likes to dig for the truth, and so more things might be coming uncovered that we missed. It also is a good time to write things down, to build the, Mercury helps us organize and figure out what we need to do in order to manifest things as well. So Mercury will be the last one coming there to help us kind of put the things into practice that we need to before this energy moves into Aries in the first quarter of next year. So that is really beautiful. The only other things going on this month are December 4th, so a few days ago, we had a full moon in Gemini. You can watch my full moon video, which I'll link right here, to learn more about what was going on for you then. And then December 19th, we will have a new moon in Sagittarius, so you'll be getting new opportunities, new things showing up, or just a good time to set new goals for the ninth house areas of your life. So watch out for the video for that. So that pretty much sums up the December 2025 Aries astrology horoscope. Comment below with how you're feeling this energy, if you're excited for it, if you're nervous for it. just how you're feeling it overall. And as well, if you can like, comment, or subscribe, interact with the video in some way. Like I said, it does really help my tiny channel grow and lets me know that you like my content, and lets YouTube know that people enjoy my content as well, and it'll start showing it to other people, which I would greatly appreciate. Otherwise, I will see you back here for next month's video forecast. Have a great month.